Hey, Coach Trickett, could you talk us through, your first year coordinator, first game, just the mechanics of calling your plays, getting your plays in? How you prepare for the logistics of that in this new situation, and kind of, you feel like you're ready to go, on all the logistics sides for the first game?
Sure, Joey. I'll tell you, it's just like riding a bike. I mean, it's only been 3 years since I've called a play last time, and I hadn't done it for however many, 7, 8 years before that. But no, it's the same. Calling plays is calling plays. The thing that you just got to kind of, is you just got to make sure you just comb over it with fine-tooth comb, make sure your substitutions are right for whoever you want on certain plays in certain situations. The communication's been great. We have a great staff. Coach Scott's been great. We do game day simulations every day in practice. We try to do our sideline mechanics, our substitution mechanics all the time, because that's the first thing you see in college football this past week was you see a couple of substitution errors, false starts for some other teams, and that's usually some game one stuff, but we're trying to eliminate that now. But it's really that, and just making sure the play sequencing is what you want, when you want to call a play and how you want to set up plays for the second, third, fourth drive, or second, third, fourth quarter, first half, second half, and just really what you got to kind of go through the game a few days ahead. So starting tomorrow, I'll call the game 4 or 5 times before we actually have the game and just sequence plays in my head, go through the third down scenarios. All right, we peeled that third down, so now we go to this next one, or vice versa. So really that's just the routine that you kind of get into now, because the game plan is done. And now it's just make sure your guys understand it and they know what you're trying to accomplish. Versus a very, very quality opponent. So, but for me, it's just like riding a bike. It's nothing new.
One more on that, if I could. If you're a play caller, is it like a feel thing? Can you get hot like a quarterback will get hot? I mean, what's the vibe of kind of when it's going good and when it's not? Like, how's it work for you?
I think the ego in the profession, yeah, you can get hot, but really, you're not playing the play. It's the kids, right? So it's the players are hot, but what we got to do is if they're hot, obviously try to keep them hot. If they're not hot, get them back on track. So I do think people could say, oh man, this coordinator is really on. And there may be some things schematically, you're seeing some plays on plays oh, okay, I see how that built to that. Usually
recording stopped.
The recording has stopped.
Y'all there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So recording stopped on my. Yeah. But anyways, it's just a deal where at the end of the day.
Recording in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
Recording stopped.
The recording has stopped.
We good?
I think we're good.
Yeah. No, I know. I keep
Brian's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
It's all good.
All
so
right.
anyway, I would say that it's really about the players. You know what I mean? And it's about what we can do a good job of is making sure we get our players on track.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
It's okay. You come in here, run it. You sit there on this.
All right, guys. Obviously, I'm having some major connectivity issues, so I think Will Turner was next. Go ahead, Will.
Morning, Coach. You take a look at this BYU defense. They, didn't have a ton of tackles for loss or sacks last year, but they still rushed the quarterback. I think pretty well in the game last year. If you go back and look at the film, just what stands out schematically about some of the things they do. Maybe they disguise their blitzes in ways other teams don't.
They do. They're very, very, very multiple. I mean, this is one of the most multiple defenses I've probably ever gone against. I mean, and I say they're multiple. They're just.
Not good for you. It sounds fine.
They've got about 4 or 5 things that they do in the box, and then they've got about 4 or 5 things they do coverage-wise, and then they've got about a good bit of blitzes, and they got some game plan-specific stuff. But just the randomness of they'll go one defense to another, and I'm sure it's not random. There's a reason why they do it, but very you don't know what you're going to get sometimes. I mean, it's a testament to their staff and their scheme. That's why they can have the players they have that are big, strong guys, and they got good speed and good size athleticism on that side of the ball too. But it's built for a big D lineman that can push the pocket vertically. Then their edge guys can either rush the passer or drop in coverage. They got some linebackers in there that are really good when they try to attack the quarterback, and then they also kind of can spot drop and rat, and then also play some man situations. They do a really good job of knowing who they are and playing their strength. It's not conventional. It's not. And I mean, there's probably bags underneath these eyes, because even though like studying them all year, it's just, you can see why they're a top 25 team, and they've got that program in the position it is. And their head coach has got a defensive background, and you can see his influence on it and their staff and the continuity they have. And it's a, they will pressure you by moving the pocket backwards because they're so big, right? So, but they do a good job of not letting you get the ball out quick either, because they'll flood your underneath zones. And even if it's man coverage, they'll have a guy hanging out there in the flats just so you can't throw it out there. And so we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's, because it's not conventional. They like, if they give something up, it's very far few between. There's not a ton of explosive plays that go by them. Everything's in front of them. So it's going to be a game of patience. I really do think it's probably going to be a game of patience. And when that opportunity's there, we got to strike and we got to make it count.
And they're obviously a very, very disciplined team too. So you're not going to get a lot of free yards on offsides or things like that. So, I mean, how important is it for you guys to just try and, essentially earn every single yard that you can get?
That's it, dude. That's it. We have to earn every yard. And it's going to be a battle in there, man. It is. They're tough. They're physical. So are we. And it's going to be a good match. Like, again, I'm sitting there, and it's a defense where I can see, if you just had a week to prepare for this, like we did last year, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy. And you can see that these guys are, like I said, they have confidence in their scheme. They kind of know where their weaknesses are, so they can cover them up and not really be exposed that much. So they do a good job of sometimes bending but not breaking, and allowing and having an explosive offense on their other side of the ball kind of helps them just kind of make teams try to press where, that's kind of really what they want you to do.
Thanks, Coach.
Leo Haggerty.
Recording in progress.
Coach, I know that statistic is for losers, but what statistic do you feel you have to win to have a chance to win this football game?
Well, we need to be really good on first down. We need to be really good in the red zone. Obviously, turnovers, we all know that one, right? We got to be really good on first down. We got to be really good in the red zone. And then third down, we got to get even, and obviously even would put you top of the country, but that's the goal, but it's like I said, you got to win first down. Again, you can go through all the stats. Like I said, like no negative plays, all that kind of stuff. But turnovers will be key, obviously. Winning first down will be key, and then we got to make sure we're good in the red zone and on third down.
Coach, I know I coached back when dinosaurs were roaming, but I had a head coach tell me one time, a punt is an offensive play. If you kick it 50 yards down the field and don't give the team a short field, you basically have accomplished part of your goal, haven't you?
Sometimes, yeah, I don't disagree. We're in the world of analytics now, and the game has become a game of possessions because offenses have become so good. And really it's now it becomes possessions, and like these analytics aren't just based on like small numbers. This is like 7, 8, 9, 10 years of information combined into like these algorithms and all that kind of stuff. So when the opportunity comes to pin them down, absolutely change the field position game. But it's really about when, getting touchdowns instead of field goals, because, and when you have those opportunities to, use all 4 downs, using those and knowing when to use them. And a lot of that has to do with the opponent and how they're doing offensively and what the numbers say and the books say and all that kind of stuff. So, we're going to have all that information. But if it's a deal where defense is playing well and playing to the D, yeah, but it's really a game of possessions now. And you can see the numbers back that up where teams kick field goal where other teams have gone for it and got it. And that touchdown was 2 drive difference, 2 possession game difference, rather than if field goal, it's a 1 possession game. And that's what it comes down to is at the end, like in the fourth quarter, is how many possessions are you up or down? And that's what you really got to kind of call the game off of toward the end of the game.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
Lanny, go ahead.
So when it comes to your offense, who do you think is going to be a surprise going onto the field and possibly be able to take on BYU, as well as who's really been highlighting that they have what it takes to take on BYU and win against that game?
Well, I mean, hopefully they all do well, and I'm not being facetious. I hope they all do well, and I got a couple of guys. I'm not gonna put that on them yet because I want to see it. I'll tell you post game. Just ask me the same question post game. What I'll say is like we got some veterans that are ready to go. We got some 6-year guys that they've seen it. I mean, they've seen it and they've done it, and this is their last ride, so they're ready to roll. And I think the team's ready. They're just ready to play somebody else. And it's a hard defense to simulate, especially on scout team. So like they're ready to see their guys, and it's a challenge because again, I'm telling you, BYU now, they are talented and they're good at what they do. But I think the entire team on both sides of the ball, it got a little chippy yesterday. I think that's just the temperature of what we're just ready to play somebody else, which is good. That's what you want. So we'll wait and see. But I do feel confident about that starting group on offense. All of them. I think they've all played and they're ready to roll.
And now that y'all have a different starting quarterback from the previous year, what is something that he's bringing to the table that is helping not only keep himself, but keep everyone even keel going into a top 25 team?
Very good question. He's got experience. He's battle tested a lot like our lineman. And he came. Last year his last season he led a team to a championship and won a lot of games and won a big bowl. And so he's been in those battles. He's been in big games. He played against BYU last year, right? So he has an idea what to expect. So the good thing is that those guys that have played, they know a guy back there has been through it. He has confidence in them because they know they've been through it. So when you have that experience, that's the one thing you just can't buy. I mean, and I'm talking about experience. You can have experience, but you also have bad experience and you have good experience, and he's had a little bit of both. More recently, more good, GB that is. And so I think he just brings that factor of like, hey, whatever's called, it's going to get operated the way it needs to be operated, and to play whatever's there, he's going to get it, and then if play breaks down, he's got enough things to make stuff happen. So I think there's an overall confidence, not only in just the quarterback, but in every position on the field, because we practice very hard and the guys have done a good job at every position so far.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Sure. Thank you.
Go ahead, Will.
I got one more. Their linebacking crew has got to be one of the best linebacking units in the country. I mean, between Keenan Pilley and Peyton Wilgar, Ben Bywater, I mean, you could just kind of name those guys off, and they're all freshman All-Americans or have had very productive seasons. I know you want to establish the run with Jaron Mangum. Just, kind of how do you try and get into that second level and pop those runs off into the third level with that prolific of a crew?
Well, they do a good job. Well, they get all these people these award recognition because they play like 2D. They literally play. They roll their defense. Their defense line, you'll see everybody. Like, I don't know. I think if they travel, they play. I mean, they got big guys that play in the box. I mean, they just roll defenders in. You'll see a mass substitution. So it allows them to keep fresh, which is a luxury that they have. And I'll tell you, it's they do a good job, too, of, like, play action. They really don't bite. They trust their defensive line to sit there and try to control the block. And once that ball is handed off, then they'll rally up and try to make a play. And so, they don't fall for the old, like, if you action, they're going to bite. They don't. Like, sometimes there's run plays where they're backpedaling a little bit because they want to stop the RPO or the play action pass, and they have confidence in their schemes up front that it's going to slow them down. So, like I said, we just got to make sure we pick and choose what we decide to do, and whatever they're going to give us, be patient with it, whether it's down the field, intermediate or short, run game, pass game, whatever it may be. So we just got to stay the course, man. We just got to stay the course against these guys, whatever we decide to do against them. And but they are very disciplined and they're very decorated on defense. And I'm telling you now, we got a heck of a first game. I mean, the good thing is we're going to know where we're at the end of this game. You know what I mean? And but then our guys are ready. Like it's going to be like, I'm sure BYU's ready to play and we're ready to play. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, Coach Trickett. We'll get Coach Shoop in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
right, we'll get started with Coach Shoop. Leo, you want to start us off?
I will, Brian. Thank you. Coach Shoop, no curveballs today, okay? What's harder to prepare for and scheme for? A quarterback like Navy has who's a threat to run it every play, or a drop back passer like you're going to see Saturday?
The hardest thing to prepare for as a defensive coach is a quarterback who can both throw and run. I mean, a traditional dual threat quarterback. Quarterbacks that can run but can't throw create certain challenges, and quarterbacks that throw but can't run create certain challenges. But a guy that can do both is very, very challenging for a defensive coach and a defensive unit.
Coach, real quick follow-up. Looking at the stats and everything, your leading tackler behind the line of scrimmage and your leading sacker was a linebacker. You got to get more out of your D-line, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we expect more out of all the levels, and the D-line's improved greatly. They've worked really hard. I mean, you know, the addition of some of the transfer portal guys, plus the improvement of the guys that were previously on the roster has been positive. So, I mean, I'm excited to watch, you know, guys like Yates and Chaney play on Saturday. I'm excited to watch guys like Logan and Hansford play on Saturday. I'm excited to watch, you know, the whole lot of those guys play. And for sure, we need productivity at each of the levels. And certainly one of the things we use the term havoc, and havoc is tackles for loss and sacks. And that's an area, you know, that we really, you know, need to improve from 2021 for sure.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck Saturday.
Joey Johnston.
Yeah, Bob, since you've been hired, it's obviously been a theme, as you just mentioned, about getting pressure on the quarterback, getting the quarterback on the ground. That's a big part of what the defense needs to do. So you've got a lot of new guys and you've got some holdover guys. Is it a matter of getting more out of the existing guys or incorporating the new guys? How do you go about kind of putting it all in a pot and coming up with a pass rush when it hadn't worked that well the past few years?
It's both. I mean, 2021's passed. I mean, it's the 2022 version of the USF Bulls, and any coordinator, any coach, I think, who's somewhat smart, you know, identifies the strengths of the individuals and places them in position to be successful. And if that means, you know, more DBs are in the game, or more linebackers are in the game, or more DNs, or more D tackles, you know, it's putting players in position to be successful. And you know, I was asked a little while ago about depth. I mean, I think we're deeper at all positions right now. That was one of the objectives of, you know, Coach Scott and this staff entering the transfer portal like we did. I think we're deeper up front. I think we're deeper at linebacker and deeper in the secondary. So we should be able to run guys out there, you know, so the guys aren't playing 75, 80 snaps. You know, we should be able to play, you know, 15, 20, 25 players in a given game. And to your point, I mean, you know, we got to create havoc, you know, with our defensive line. We got to be able to create havoc with our linebackers, and nobody's immune to blitzing on our team. We have pressures that bring the nickel, bring the corner, or bring a safety. So, you know, every one of those guys is expected to create havoc and create disruption.
And one more, if I could, a couple of players who I think are kind of on your first rotation that are new that could be a key role. Rashad Chaney, Jatorian Hansford. I know one's in on the interior, one's on the edge. Could you speak about the skill sets of these guys and what you've seen from them and what you think they can bring to your defense?
You know, Rashad Chaney is an interesting guy. I mean, I don't know how many years ago he came out of high school, 17 or 18, I guess he came out of high school. At one point, he was one of the top-ranked defensive linemen in all of high school football. He was an Alabama commit at one time, and it ended up kind of things went in a different direction. He ended up at Minnesota, and he played at Minnesota, and we're very, very fortunate to have him. And he's made a real impact, you know, on the D-line room. He's made a real impact on our unit, and we expect big things from him. We expect him to have a really productive game on Saturday, and hopefully have a great season. And Jatorian, I mean, you know, it's funny when Jatorian, that was one of the guys maybe I had a hand in recruiting. I got on the job and we really went after him. I mean, we were kind of on the fence, and then we put on a lot of his film from 2020 and even earlier than that, some of his younger games. I mean, he's a big, strong defensive end who can run. He provides a little bit of a push for us up front. He's strong. He's aggressive. Hey, man, he loves the game of football. He has tremendous passion. He does things the right way in the classroom. He does things the right way in the weight room. He provides great leadership for us. And just the fact that he played 3 or 4 years for an SEC program against the high level of quality competition that he did. I mean, he brings that to the table every day and just shares those experiences with the players and with our staff. And both those guys give us some maturity and some leadership and certainly some needed depth at those positions.
Thanks, Coach.
Will Turner.
Morning, Coach. BYU was a top 15 team in third down conversions last year. And, you take a look at the USF game against BYU last year, a little bit of an outlier. They were just 2 for 7 on third down, but did get a lot of the chunk plays on first and second. What do you have to do to be able to get off the field on those money downs on third and fourth there?
We got to do whatever's required. I mean, I think what BYU does a really good job of is they're both, there's explosive offenses, which are offenses that have touchdown drives that average 10 or more yards a play. And then there's efficient offenses, and efficient offenses to me have drives that are 10 or more plays for a score. And they have the ability to do both. They create explosive plays, with a great quarterback and really good receivers and a good stable of running backs and a big O-line. And then they do a really good job when it doesn't work out that way, getting the third and manageable and moving the sticks. In addition to what they've done on third down, they also went for it 26 times on fourth down last year. So,
right.
Like anybody, I mean, we have a plan for certain down and distances, third and long, third and medium, and third and short. And, we've studied what they've done in the past, and we have an idea for what they've done in the past. But like any new game, or any new season, certainly I'm sure they studied themselves this offseason. I know they've got a great offensive staff, and those guys are going to, work to move the chains, and we're going to work to stop them.
And then one more for me, this team is also really good within the 20-yard line in their red zone offense. What's obviously, without giving away your game plan, what's your philosophy about red zone defense? Because the goal line stop kind of seems almost outdated sometimes in college football.
Well, you're right about them last year. I think I had 55 red zone trips and scored on 49 of them. I think 41 times they scored touchdowns. They have big, tall receivers, that can go up and get the ball. They have a good offensive line that can push the line of scrimmage, so they're very efficient. They've got a quarterback who can both throw and run, so that's the recipe right there for a pretty good red zone offense. It depends on the situation. I mean, our objective, put simply, is, I call every red zone situation a 7-point situation. So if we hold them to no points, we create a takeaway, we stop them on downs, they miss a field goal, we win 7-0. If somehow, some way, we hold them to a field goal, they get the 3 points for the field goal, but we get 4 points for stopping them. And if they score a touchdown, we lose 0-7. So again, we've studied their red zone plays in the high red zone, the low red zone, and the goal line, and we feel like we've got a decent grasp for what they're attempting to do down there, and we've put together a plan, to stop the things that we've seen on film. Like I said, any new season can present new opportunities, though. So it's really not necessarily about what they do. It's all the things that we've trained for in spring football and training camp, and applying those to the situation in the game.
Thanks, Coach.
Lanny, go ahead.
Obviously, it's hard to see any weak spots when looking at the BYU team, but it's currently speculated that some of their wide receivers are up to chance to not playing this weekend. How does that leave y'all being able to attack against a dual threat quarterback that doesn't have the backup that he needs?
Yeah, they've got good depth at wide receiver. I mean, we've all seen the same things you've seen about, Romney and Pakua. And I anticipate that they're going to play, but if they don't, if you follow their storyline during training camp, some of the younger receivers have really stepped up and had a great camp. Again, they've got a great quarterback coach. They've got a great receiver coach. They got a great connection between the quarterbacks and the receivers. And a lot of times they have the ability, because they're so deep at the tight end position, they can get into a lot of their 3 receiver sets, even their 4 receiver sets, by utilizing a tight end in those situations. So, I don't think it's going to significantly change what they do. And like I said, they're so well coached, and they do such a great job operating with the framework of their system, that I think, I'm not saying those guys missing will hurt them and they'll be disappointed about that. But at the same time, I don't significantly think that's going to change a whole lot what they're going to do.
Awesome. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for Coach Shoop? All right. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day.
We'll see you on Saturday.